Let's go to Justin Wells of Inside Texas, and we are going to get into it. Just an absolute monster of a weekend. Where do we even begin? Who did Texas make a move with this weekend, Justin?
Well, I think they made a move with a couple guys. As a matter of fact, we've already talked to a handful coming out of visits. Let's get started with the big names. Felix Ojo. I felt like they've already hit a home run with this kid, but it was time to bring in the closer to get the last three saves to kind of wrap this one up. I think they did a tremendous job there. But I got to tell you, Hezi Kent, the big athlete, 6'6", 285, out of Brunswick, Georgia. He's another one that really enjoyed the trip. Texas has him as the number one tight end on their big board. I think that kind of separates them from the rest of the pack. Vodney Cleveland. Like, look, Texas needed to really hit home with Vodney on this. He's coming off that OV from Florida. I think that official visit kind of moved them ahead. This one right now, just catching up with a couple sources, a couple close to Vodney. I think that the Horns may have taken that lead. We're going to get a little bit more later, and you can check it out here and at InsideTexas.com. But, yeah, Vodney Cleveland, I think they moved the needle with this guy. Dre Quinn. I think it's going to come down to Texas and Clemson for that kid. Dre loved his unofficial. He absolutely just finished his official and loved it. Talked to our Joe Cook. And so right now, a lot of good – this was a good weekend. It wasn't too many guys, but it was a strong number, a strong contingent. And like that photo you just posted earlier, Texas official visits are generally a family affair. And when you get all those prospects and all those current players together in one moment, they kind of build off of each other. I love where Texas sits with Samari Matthews. I love where Texas sits with Jalen Lott. He got to hang out with two former teammates, Dalen McCutcheon and Parker Livingstone from his days at Lucas Lovejoy. And so at the end of the day, I think they moved the needle with a handful of defensive guys they really needed to, especially the out-of-staters. And I think they cemented themselves with guys like Felix Ojo, with Zayden Crimpin, with those that they wanted to make sure that they can close and get in this class soon.
All right. Now, I had a source call me on Friday, somebody very close to linebacker Xavier Griffin, and he said, don't discount the Alabama hype. It's real. Yeah. But he said, Josh, this visit to Texas is also real, and he thought that the Horns would be a major player for Griffin heading out of this visit. What are some of the things that you're hearing on the five-star from Georgia, from Alabama, wherever he's from? What are you hearing on Xavier Griffin?
He's from Gainesville, Georgia. The first time I saw Gainesville, I thought, well, maybe Florida kid. No, he's a Georgia kid. Former USC commit. Look, Xavier Griffin was, I think, a little hesitant when he took his unofficial back in April. Him and his mother were there. We were able to catch up with them. They were tremendous. I mean, they were awesome. He really had a great time. And so we knew Texas was going to be in it. Alan Clark, the former edge coach at Ohio State, the current edge coach at Texas, has really, really just hit well in his short time in Austin already. And it's building these relationships out with some of the guys you just showed. Like I said, with Dre Quinn, I think they did a tremendous job this week as well. Xavier Griffin's an edge prospect for Texas. He might be the number 2 rated linebacker, but they view him as an edge at the next level. They know Alabama's the team to battle. They know that's going to be the team that they're going to have to overcome. And also, don't sleep on Ohio State. I think Ohio State made a big impression on him as well. And so he's going to get home and he's going to have a big decision to make. But, I'm not going to sleep. I think Alan Clark did a great job here, getting them back, getting them settled in. We're going to have a little bit more from him at InsideTexas.com here in just a bit. But, with Griffin, they really this week, the first weekend was more shoot your shot. This weekend was more, cement that foundation that you had already built with a lot of these guys. And I think with Griffin, it was a little bit of both. Give them that best sales pitch, give them that shot, and then see if they can gather that up. At the end of the day, I think Bama's going to be the team they have to battle. But I think Texas did really well this weekend, and it remains to be seen. I believe he's got a commitment date, if I remember correctly, in July. A lot of these guys have some commitment dates coming up. But that's one that we're going to be watching closely because Alan Clark and the Texas defense has really got his attention. And truthfully, it's Colin Simmons. When he came in and watched the scrimmage and watched Colin coming off the edge, I think he envisioned himself doing that. And that's as much as the reason the Horns are in it as anything.
All right. Couple more questions. You mentioned Hezi Kent at the beginning. Monster 6'6" tight end out of the state of Georgia, heavily considering Miami. But after Texas missed on Mark Bowman, does Hezi Kent move up the board? Is he more of a priority after this weekend?
Yeah, he's on the top. He told us he's the top tight end on the board. That's what Jeff Banks, the tight end coach, told him. And I think that's actually what's separating Kent from the rest of the schools, or Texas from the rest of the schools, because I think some of the other ones envision him as an offensive tackle. And I got to be honest with you, when I see I know an offensive tackle when I see one, and that kid is ginormous. He can make an impact either way. But Texas really likes his skill set. And they have a scheme on offense where they use a jumbo tight end offensive tackle slash kind of guy. Malik Ogbo did it a couple years ago. Andre Currick did it in his first few years when Sark had arrived. In that role, Kent would thrive. I mean, he would be a legit blocker, a legit tackle-like guy in the edge, in the backfield, and at the same time be a weapon on offense. Because if you watch any of that guy's tape, this dude is doing some wildcat stuff. Kent is a phenomenal athlete. I think for him to really get to where he wants to be at tight end, he's going to have to get a little leaner. He's already at 285, and that is massive for a high school kid. But at the end of the day, Texas tight end pitch, that sales pitch, I think is huge, because I think most schools, again, they see him as an offensive tackle. Texas and Jeff Banks think he can catch the football on Saturdays, and I think that's going to give Texas the advantage. I think his decision, he's got one more official visit to Florida State, he told us, and then I think the decision is July 10th, if I heard that correctly.
All right, so close to 20 visitors on campus. A lot of them were committed already, but there's plenty of uncommitted guys on campus. Anybody that you're watching coming out of the weekend on commit watch?
Felix Ojo, Samari Matthews. Man, I want to say they did really well with Braden Rouse. Like, to me, I don't care what anybody says. He has the best high school linebacker tape in the class of 2026. He is a violent individual on Friday nights, and I'm here for it. I think they did really well there. You know, they've got Kosi Akpala, the other big target, coming in next weekend. I think those would be the two ideal takes in this cycle. But Vodney Cleveland, I look, you know, when I went to see him in Birmingham a couple of weeks ago, he told me his decision date's in mid-June. Well, buddy, we're in mid-June today. And so I think he has a pretty good idea. Now, I know he still has an official visit to Miami. It remains to be seen if that's actually going to happen. I think it will. But those are the guys. I think Samari Matthews. I think Zayden Crimpin. I think Felix Ojo. There's a number of them. They had one guy committed on campus this weekend, Yaheem Riley, a safety out of Austin Anderson. But these other guys, I think in the next few weeks, you're going to see more and more guys come off the board. Like I said, there's a lot of July decisions. There's a lot of late June decisions. Instead of waiting till August, right before the beginning of your senior year, they're kind of doing it a little bit earlier. And I think Texas they're not pushing, you know, kind of how Sark works. They don't really push till a few hours before National Signing Day, but they do let them know, hey, you're a priority. This is where we see you. You got a spot, jump in.
Yeah. It's going to happen soon. All right, Justin Wells with Inside Texas. You guys are keeping the updates rolling all day long. Go check it out. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you.